We left off Thursday. Is it just Thursday? Today's Tuesday, right? Yeah. We left off with that scene at the stairs of Cirith Ungol where Frodo and Sam are sleeping. Gollum comes up, puts his hand out on Frodo's knee. Sam wakes up, calls Gollum a sneaking thief, and Gollum retreats into himself. Very next chapter, Shelob's lair. Okay, we find out where Gollum has been, and we see the eyes. They kind of come towards Frodo and Sam, page 721, and Frodo lifts up the phial of Galadriel that she gave him, which has the light from the Star of Eärendil, which is the Silmaril, okay? And he says Galadriel's name, and the eyes kind of halt and back up a little bit, okay? Shelob is really old, a lot older than Gollum. But the name Galadriel, in and of itself, has some power. So the lights kind of waver and they slink away. And we get a long description, page 723, about Shelob. There age long she had dwelt an evil thing in spider form, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And Sam puts the phial away again, page 725, and out she comes. So this is the only thing keeping them safe from Shelob. Sam puts the phial away. Shelob comes out. Gollum attacks Sam from the back, page 726. Okay, and notice what Gollum says here. Got him. At last, my precious, we've got him. Yes, the nasty hobbit. Notice it wasn't Frodo that called Gollum a villain and a sneak. We takes this one, she'll get the other. Oh yeah, Shelob will get him. Not Smeagol. He promised he won't hurt Master at all. In other words, I can't. She can. But he's got you, you nasty, filthy little snake. Ooh, Sam's getting his comeuppance here. Okay? But then Sam, notice, fury at the treachery, desperation at the delay, when his master was in deadly peril, gave to Sam a sudden violence and strength that was far beyond anything that Gollum had expected from this slow, stupid hobbit. Okay? Sam's name, okay? Samwise Gamgee. Okay? Or he's also called Hamfast at some, or not Samfast. There's another thing that's thrown in there. His name means half-wise. Like, a little low on the IQ level. There's a reason why Sam's a gardener. I'm not knocking gardeners by any means. Okay? So, Sam isn't supposed to be brilliant. He's not a genius by any means. But he is loyal. And if you threaten his loyalty to Frodo, he will do amazing things, as we see. Okay? So he breaks away from Gollum, and he finds Frodo lying up at the head of the pass. And Frodo is lying face upward. This is the very beginning of the next chapter. Frodo was lying face upward on the ground, and the monster was bending over him, so intent upon her victim that she didn't see Sam. Sam comes up, and he has Sting, because Frodo's already given him Sting, and he takes Sting, and he thrusts it up into her belly. Okay, this gives us an idea of how big Shelob is. She's not like a big spider you might see out in the woods or something, like the size of your hand. She's probably, her belly, 5 or 6 feet in diameter. So her legs are, 8 to 10 feet long. So she would stand belly up, that is belly off the ground, about this high off the ground. So when she comes up over Sam and thinks she's going to squish him with her belly, she starts to lower down, and Sam just thrusts up with his sword, which, again, for him is a sword. For us, it would be like a dagger. Page 729. No such anguish had Shelob ever known, or dreamed of knowing, in all her long world of wickedness. Not the doughtiest soldier of old Gondor, nor the most savage orc entrapped had ever thus endured her, or set blade to her beloved flesh. She feels it, and she tries to scuttle away. Okay? Sam pulls out the file of Galadriel, and notice what happens. It's like he suddenly learns Elvish. Gilthonio al Elbereth. Elbereth is Varda, the wife of Manwë, one of those Valar, okay, whom the elves do somewhat regularly pray to or refer to. They call on Elbereth for counsel, for help. This is part of Tolkien's kind of Catholicism. It's like crying out to Mary. Elbereth Gilthonio Lumino Palantiria Lenalin Sid Ungurthos Atironin Fenuelos. And I've had people on YouTube say, oh, Sherman, you shouldn't try to read Elvish because you can't pronounce it the way Tolkien does. Tolkien, you can get audio recordings of Tolkien reading some of his stuff, and he reads this, and there's a lyrical lilt to his voice as he reads it. Okay? So, Shelob flees away, and Sam goes to Frodo. He cuts away the cords that she has bound Frodo in. He tells Mr. Frodo, wake up, wake up, wake up. Well, obviously Frodo's not going to wake up. And page 731, black despair came down on him. And Sam bowed to the ground and drew his great hood over his head, and night came into his heart, and he knew no more. Okay? Why does he pull the hood over his head? Adds to the darkness. Who made the hood? Elves. Galadriel and her servants. Okay? So when he pulls that hood over, what happens? He kind of melts into the ground just like Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli did when they pulled their hoods over them back on the fields of Rohan. And notice, when he comes to, we don't know how long he's been out. Whether it's mere minutes or hours. He was still in the same place, and still his master lay beside him dead. The mountains had not crumbled, nor the earth fallen into ruin. Why does Tolkien include that sentence? The mountains had not crumbled, nor the earth fallen into ruin. It's not the end of the world. For Sam, it is. His master is dead. He said he would go to do one thing, to protect Frodo. He hasn't. What shall I do? What shall I do? Did I come all this way with him for nothing? Well, he got Frodo this far, and he remembers his own voice. I have something to do before the end. I must see it through, sir, if you understand. When did he say that? It wasn't in the Shire, and it wasn't in Rivendell. Mirror of Galadriel. When Sam looks in the mirror of Galadriel, what does he see? Well, he sees this. He sees Frodo lying as if dead in a tunnel. But what else does he see? He sees what's going to happen at the Shire. He sees his father homeless, kicked out of his home. He sees the party tree chopped down and burning. But he tells Mr. Frodo, nope, I can't go back the same way I came. Meaning, I've got to finish the journey. I've got to go back by another way. But what can I do? He asks. Not leave Mr. Frodo dead, unburied on the top of the mountains and go home. Or go on. Go on. Is that what I've got to do? And leave him? Well, he can't go on and carry him. Knowing Sam, he would try. And at last he begins to weep. Why does he finally begin to weep? It hits him. Frodo's dead. What does that leave Sam to do?
Take the ring.
Yeah. He hasn't realized it yet, but internally he has. Why was the Fellowship of the Ring created?
To destroy the ring.
One person fails and the other.
to help the ring bearer achieve his quest. If I'm to go on, then I must take your sword by your leave, Mr. Frodo, but I'll put this one to lie by you, as it lay by the old king in the barrow. And you've got your beautiful mithril coat from old Mr. Bilbo, and your star glass, Mr. Frodo. You did lend it to me, and I'll need it, for I'll always be in the dark now. It's too good for me, and the lady gave it to you, but maybe she'd understand. Do you understand, Mr. Frodo? I've got to go on. Sam is thinking, there's more at stake here than just poor old Mr. Frodo. He's already dead. There's nothing else he can do for him. But there's a lot of people who aren't yet dead. But he could not go. Not yet. He kneels beside Frodo and he takes his hand and he thinks, top of the next page, if once he could go, his anger would bear him down all the roads of the world, pursuing until he had him at last. Gollum. What's Sam thinking? What's he want? Revenge. If it takes his dying days, he will hunt Gollum down. Then Gollum would die in a corner. But that was not what he had set out to do. Did Sam know Gollum was bad at the beginning of his journey? Yes. Yeah. He heard Gandalf and Frodo talking about him. But that's not his purpose. His purpose is to achieve the quest. What? Me? Alone? Go to the crack of doom and all? He quailed still, but the resolve grew. Notice, he quailed. He shakes at the very thought of it, but as he even thinks about it, the resolve grows within him. He gets sterner and sterner and sterner. What? Me? Take the ring from him, that is me, take the ring from Frodo. The council gave it to him. Did they? No. Frodo claimed it. Frodo said, I will take the ring, though I do not know the way. Nobody says, prior to that, well, Frodo, it's your job. I mean, you have the ring. It's only after Frodo says, I will take the ring, that Elrond says, I think this task is appointed for you. Elrond doesn't say, Frodo, you must take the ring. Elrond, Gandalf, Aragorn, they don't all say, this is your job. Elrond says, I think this task is appointed, referring to that appointer. Okay? And then what does he say? We're back to fairy tales, fairies and unicorns. I wish I wasn't the last. I wish old Gandalf was here, or somebody. Why am I left all alone to make up my mind? I'm sure to go wrong. Why? Because I'm just a country old, bumpkin hobbit. And it's not for me to go taking the ring, putting myself forward. Notice what's going on. But you haven't put yourself forward. Sam is debating, kind of like Smeagol Gollum. Here we have Sam and not Sam, as it were, kind of going back and forth. What's he doing? Pros and cons. But you haven't put yourself forward. In other words, you haven't stood up when there are other candidates. What's it come to? I'm the only one left. There were 9 to ensure this task got done. You've been put forward. And as for not being the right proper person, why, Mr. Frodo wasn't, nor Mr. Bilbo. They didn't choose themselves. Well, then I must make up my own mind. I will make it up, but I'll be sure to go wrong. Why is Sam so sure he'll fail or he'll choose wrongly?
He knows who he is.
He knows who he is. The oracle at Delphi in ancient Greece, where people would go to seek advice from the gods, from Apollo. Apollo supposedly spoke through the oracle. But the oracle at Delphi, the place at Delphi, had a stone near it. And inscribed on that stone was two words. Know thyself. Okay? So, Socrates was told by the oracle, you're the wisest man in the world. Socrates said, you got to be kidding me. There's got to be somebody else wiser than me. So he set out to go around and ask people a variety of questions to prove that the oracle was wrong. Okay? These become known as the dialogues of Plato, where Socrates is asking people all kinds of questions. He asks so many questions that he becomes a nuisance. That's why the Senate of Athens puts him to death. He's asking too many questions. He's getting under their skin. Okay? Why was Socrates called the wisest man? Because he knew he wasn't wise. He did this. What did he show? Humility. What is Sam showing? Humility. He's saying, I'll screw up. Why? Because I am a screw up. So, if we're found here, so what does he start to do? He starts to reason this through. If we're found here, or at least if Mr. Frodo is found, and he has that thing on him, what happens? It'll be the end. The war's begun. More than likely, things are all going the enemy's way already. No chance to go back with it and get advice or permission. No, it's either sit hill till they come and kill me over Master's body and gets it, or take it and go. Those are his two options. I can sit here and protect Mr. Frodo, but it's going to be Sam against what? Sauron. Losing proposition. Or I can take it and go. What kind of odds are there that he'll still succeed? Slim to none, but slim to none is better than none. Take it. It is. So he stoops over Mr. Frodo and he takes the ring off from around Frodo's neck. And he puts the ring around his own neck, and at once his head was bowed to the ground with the weight of the ring. He puts it on. When he has it in his hands, it's like the weight of a ring. He puts it over his neck, and it's like he suddenly got a 20-pound weight dragging him down to the ground. Slowly, as if the weight became less or new strength grew in him, he raised his head and then with a great effort got to his feet. Is it because he has new strength in him? Or is the ring merely transferring itself to a new master, trying to find its way home? So, he goes on. He puts the ring on, and immediately everything changes. He hears sounds he didn't hear before. He hears noises in the Morgul Vale. He's still in the tunnel. He's still in the heart of the mountain. And he hears noises outside the mountain. He hears the orcs. And he realizes the orcs found Frodo. They'd taken Frodo's body. I'm going to skip a bunch. He overhears them and realizes, Sam, you idiot. I did go wrong. Frodo wasn't dead. What did Sam apparently not do or not know to do? Yeah. Oh, he's still alive.
Put the blade up to his
took the blade up to his mouth. Does he see any fog on the... Doesn't do either of those things. Okay. So we find out Frodo's just poisoned. And Sam is locked out of the fortress of Cirith Ungol. Book ends... And when it's originally published, readers, British readers, now have to wait another 6 months before they find out what's going to happen. Talk about cliffhanger. Literal cliffhanger. Okay? Return of the King gets published. People frantically open the first page. And Tolkien takes us all the way back to freaking Gandalf and Pippin in Minas Tirith, we're left wondering, what's happened to Frodo and Sam? And you start flipping through the book, and what do you have to do? You have to get to book 6 before we go back to Frodo and Sam. Okay? So, Tolkien takes us on to Minas Tirith. They get to Minas Tirith, and Gandalf advises Pippin, be careful what you say to Denethor, and don't mention anything about Strider. Okay, page 753. Be careful of your words, Master Peregrine. This is no time for hobbit pertness. Theoden is a kindly old man. Denethor is of another sort, proud and subtle. A man of far greater lineage and power, though he is not called a king. That is, Theoden is a king. Yeah. But he's a king of somewhat uncouth, wild people. Okay? The men of Rohan are based entirely upon Anglo-Saxon England. Okay? Denethor would be more like a Charlemagne than a English chieftain, let's say. But he will speak most to you and question you much, since you can tell him of his son Boromir. He loved him greatly. Too much, perhaps. How can a father love a son too much?
To neglect the other children that he has.
Okay, possibly if he neglects other children, as we do see Denethor does with Faramir. How else?
I'm not noticing the weakness of one child and the strength of another.
Okay.
I think put too much value in your son.
Think the world revolves around your son. World doesn't revolve around our children, if we have children. If a child dies, is it, God forbid, is it the end of the world? No. Is it horrible? Oh yeah. But it's not the end of the world. Okay? But under cover of this love, you'll think it easier to learn what he wishes from you rather than from me. Don't tell him more than you need. Don't mention Frodo. And say nothing about Aragorn. Notice how Pippin replies. Why not? What is wrong with Strider? Gandalf says, say nothing about Aragorn. Pippin hears that and reinterprets it to Strider. Why? What does Pippin think of Aragorn? He hasn't really, it hasn't really sunk in who Strider is. Who is Strider?
The rightful king.
Rightful king. Maybe Gandalf replies about whether or not Strider will be replying. Though if he comes, it is unlikely to be in some way that no one suspects, not even Denethor. He should come unheralded by us. And Gandalf kind of stops before this big door and says, okay, Pippin, understand me now. There's no time to instruct you now in the history of Gondor, though it might have been better if you'd learned something of it when you were still birds nesting and playing truant in the words of the Shire. We never learn, for example, that the hobbits have compulsory education, known as public education. We don't know that they go to school. Okay? Maybe no fault of Pippin's that he never learned anything about Gondor. It's pretty clear they don't learn about Gondor per se. Gondor for them is like fairy tales because it's so far away. Do as I bid. It is scarcely wise when bringing the news of the death of his heir to a mighty lord to speak over much of the coming of one who will, if he comes, claim the kingship. Kingship? It's like Pippin's only now heard this. Okay. Where else would Pippin have heard it? That Aragorn is the rightful king of Gondor. Around the campfire at night? On their way to, Weathertop? No. Rivendell? Was Pippin at the Council of Elrond? No. No. It was at the Council of Elrond, where Elrond tells everyone he is Aragorn, son of Arathorn, descended through many years from Isildur, Elendil's son. That's the proof that he is the rightful king of Gondor. Pippin's absent for all of that. We don't hear any other talk about Aragorn and the kingship throughout the rest of the, travels from Rivendell on their way down. Yes, if you have walked all these days with closed ears and mind asleep, wake up now.
Sorry.
Okay, so they go in. Pippin sees Denethor, and he sees on Denethor's lap the horn of Boromir. And they talk a little about that. Boromir says, this was found 13 days ago, or I heard it blowing 13 days ago, and Pippin's sitting there. Yep, that's about right. I stood beside him as he blew the horn, but no help came, only more orcs. So, you were there? Tell me, why did no help come? And Pippin forgets his fear. Meaning, he forgets his fear of Denethor. See, we don't have this kind of experience in the United States. Because our president, so far, is not a king. He is in the presence of a mighty, not king, but steward. It's pretty close, but not quite. And Pippin says, the mightiest man may be slain by one arrow, and Boromir was pierced by many. When last I saw him, he sank beside a tree and plucked a black feathered shaft from his side. Then I swooned and was made captive. I saw him no more and know no more, but I honor his memory, for he is very valiant. And then Pippin does something nobody expects. He pulls his little sword out, and he says, little service no doubt will so great a lord of men think to find out a hobbit, a halfling from the northern shire, and such as it is I will offer it, in payment of my debt. And he draws his sword and lays it at Denethor's feet. A sign of fealty. He's saying, my sword is yours, Lord. Command me to kill whom you will. What's he doing? He's playing kind of the part of Eomer. When Saruman tells Eomer, your job is to kill whom your lord slays. Pippin is saying, I'm at your disposal. Okay? Denethor picks up the sword, and he says, this is a blade wrought by our own kindred in the north, in the deep past. By our kindred means by the men of Numenor. It came out of the mountains that lie on the borders of my country. Okay? So, Denethor says, swear to me now. And Gandalf kind of gives Pippin instructions. Okay, Pippin, now you did it. Here's what you do. Take the hilt and speak after the Lord if you are resolved on this. I am. The old man laid the sword along his lap, and Pippin put his hand to the hilt. So Denethor is sitting. He's got the sword along his lap. Pippin puts his hand on it. Notice, there's that image again of the hand close to the knee. Here do I swear fealty and service to Gondor and to the Lord and steward of the realm. Lord and steward is not a single individual. Not necessarily. To speak and to be silent, to do and to let be, to come and to go, in need or plenty, peace or war, blah, 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 blah. And Denethor says, and this do I hear, Lord of Gondor, steward of the High King, and I will not forget it. And so he says, here's my first command. Speak and don't be silent. Tell me everything you can of Boromir. Okay? But Gandalf says, I've not ridden hither from Isengard 150 leagues with the speed of wind only to bring you one small warrior, however courteous. Is it not true that Theoden has fought a great battle and that Isengard is overthrown and that I have broken the staff of Saruman? In other words, don't you want to know some of the larger details first? Aren't you interested in how the battle goes? It is much, to me, Denethor says. It is important. But I know already sufficient of these deeds for my own counsel against the menace of the East. I already know enough about what has happened to form my own counsel about Sauron. What's immediately going on in Gandalf's mind, do you think? How do you know? How do you know about Saruman already? Has anybody else escaped from Isengard to tell him? No. Does he have a telegraph? No. Well, he does, of a sort. Okay, the Palantir. And Pippin looks at Gandalf and Denethor, and we get this description. Denethor looked indeed much more like a great wizard than Gandalf did, more kingly, beautiful, and powerful. He's nice looking. He's regal looking. And older looking. Yet by a sense other than sight, Pippin perceived that Gandalf had the greater power and the deeper wisdom and a majesty that was veiled. And he was older, far older. And Pippin wonders, how much older? And then he thinks even more about that. Treebeard had said something about wizards, but even then, he had not thought of Gandalf as one of them. What was Gandalf? Notice, not who was Gandalf. In what far time and place did he come into the world, and when would he leave it? And Denethor says, yes, for though the stones be lost, they say, still the lords of Gondor have keener sight than lesser men. And notice, it's Denethor who first withdraws his gaze. They're having a staring match. And it's Denethor who breaks his eyes away. Why? He's not going to outstare Gandalf. Gandalf's been around a lot longer. He has seen a lot more. He's not intimidated by Denethor. So, Pippin speaks. And after he speaks, Denethor says, give them good housing, food, etc., etc. He says Mithrandir can come and go as he desires. Pippin will be assigned to the guard. And Denethor says, top of 758, let your wrath and an old man's folly run off, and then return to my comfort. He says that to Gandalf. Gandalf, folly? Nay, my lord. When you are dotard, you will die. Dotard. He means when you are a blithering fool, saliva dripping down your chin. You can use even your grief as a cloak. Do you think that I do not understand your purpose in questioning for an hour one who knows the least while I stand by? Pippin probably doesn't even realize what Gandalf has just said. You sat questioning a hobbit for an hour who knows squat, while I, who know an awful lot. If you understand it, then be content, says Denethor. Pride would be folly that disdained help and counsel at need. But you deal out such gifts according to your own designs. Pride would be folly. That is, pride would be foolishness. That what? Turned down help and counsel at need, when it's really needed. But then what does he say? You only give help and counsel what? According to your own purposes, Gandalf. Yet the Lord of Gondor is not to be made the tool of other men's purposes, however worthy. I don't seek your help and counsel. Why? Because that would make me a tool of you. What did he say about pride? It would turn to folly. What is Denethor just unconsciously admitted? He's a fool. He is a damn fool. Because he's turned down Gandalf's offer of aid and counsel. Why? Because he thinks Gandalf has ulterior motives. And therefore, any aid and counsel he gives is merely the movement of a pawn on a chessboard. And to him, that is the steward of Gondor, there is no purpose higher in the world as it now stands than the good of Gondor. And the rule of Gondor, my lord, is mine and no other man's, unless the king should come again. The rule is mine, nobody else's, unless the king should come again. Unless the king should come again. Why does he say that? What is that akin to? What is that similar to in modern parlance? It'd be like a Christian saying something and then finishing it with God willing. That is, if God wills it, such and such will happen. Often it's said without really even thinking about it. Okay? But Gandalf latches on that phrase. Unless the king should come again. Well, my lord steward, it is your task to keep some kingdom still against that event. That is, it's your job to make sure there is a kingdom in case the king should come again. Which few now look to see. How few. That's an example, I think, of what's called Old English litotes, which means it's understatement. How few look to see the king come again? None. Except for Aragorn. How long has it been since there's been a king in Gondor? I've said this before. 3,000 years. It's like going back in time to just about 1,000 years after Stonehenge was built. Okay? It's like going back to 1,000 years before King David. So Abraham's time in the Old Testament. We're talking way the hell back there that there's been no king in Gondor. In that task, to preserve Gondor for the future king, you shall have all the aid that you were pleased to ask for. In other words, you want help? Ask. But I will say this, the rule of no realm is mine. Why does Gandalf say that? Because Denethor is implying that Gandalf wants to rule Gondor. Neither of Gondor nor any other. Gandalf saying, I don't want to rule Gondor, and I don't want to rule anywhere else, great or small. But all worthy things are in peril as the world now stands. Those are my care. See, Denethor has Gondor because he is steward of that. He is ruling it in someone else's stead. Gandalf says, all worthy things now stand in peril. And what's he mean? Let's enlarge this. This is now Middle Earth. All Middle Earth. And Gandalf is saying, I am steward of that. Gondor is but a small part of what Gandalf is steward of. Those are my care. All worthy things. And for my part, I shall not wholly fail in my task, though Gondor should perish. Even if Gondor is wiped out, if anything passes through this night that can still grow fair or bear fruit and flower again in days to come. That is, if this night brings about the end of all this, and yet there is still one single flower. Gandalf says, I will not have wholly failed. Will he have mostly failed? Yes. But the very fact that one thing is still living that can produce flower or fruit, he says, means I've still succeeded. I have kept life alive.
What page are you on? I'm sorry.
Pardon?
What page are you
This is 758. For my part, I shall not wholly fail in my task, though Gondor should perish. If anything passes through this night that can still grow fair or bear fruit and flower again in days to come. For I also am a steward. Did you not know? No. And with that, with a nice flourish, he turns, his cape swirls, and he strides out of the room. Kind of implying, you're a peon compared to me. You have this little realm. I've got the whole freaking earth I've got to keep, mind of. Okay? So they go out. Pippin says, did the best I could. Gandalf says, you did fine. Okay? And then he tells him, I hope that it may be long before you find yourself in such a tight corner again between two such terrible old men. Still, the Lord of Gondor learned more from you than you may have guessed. You could not hide the fact Boromir did not lead the company, that there was someone else who was coming to Minas Tirith. He had a famous sword. Men think much about the stories of old days in Gondor, and Denethor has given long thought to the rhyme and to the words Isildur's Bane. Okay? He's not as other men, Pippin. Whatever be his descent from father to son, by some chance the blood of Westernessa runs nearly true in him, as it does in his other son, Faramir, and yet did not in Boromir, whom he loved best. What does he mean by that? There is a highness, okay, to Denethor that there wasn't to Boromir, but that there is in Faramir. When Faramir said, we men of Gondor, we are truth tellers. I told you I would not pick this thing up by the side of the road. If I saw it, I would be bound. That's the blood of Westernessa speaking. Boromir, if he had made that oath and then found out what the ring was, what would he have done? Taken it in a heartbeat. Okay? So, Pippin goes off. He meets Baragond and Beregil, his son. I'm going to skip a whole bunch. Let's see here. Go on to the passing of the Grey Company. Riders from the north, Disdain, come and meet up with Aragorn. Page 775. Elrond says to Aragorn, the days are short. This is Elro here passing on these words. The days are short. If thou art in haste, remember the paths of the dead. Aragorn's like, yeah, the days are short, but they got to get a lot shorter before I'll go that way. Okay? He says, any other news? He says, oh yeah, I've got something from the Lady of Rivendell. And it's a close furled black cloth. The days now are short. Either our hope cometh or all hopes end. Therefore I send thee what I have made for thee. Farewell, Elfstone. He says, okay, I know what that is. Keep it hidden. All right. And what do we see? Page 777. We've seen Pippin swear loyalty to Denethor, and now Merry does the same to Theoden. Merry says, I have a sword. And he pulls his sword out and he says, may I lay the sword of Meriadoc of the Shire on your lap, Theoden King? Receive my service if you will. And the king says, gladly will I take it. And he puts his long old hands upon the brown hair of the hobbit and he blesses him. Rise now, Meriadoc, Esquire of Rowan of the household of Medicel. Take your sword and bear it unto good fortune. Merry, as a father you shall be to me. Notice, a lot different dynamic going on here in this swearing in ceremony. It's almost like Merry is adopted, whereas Denethor is cold, hard, and cruel. Theoden is warm and loving and fatherly. Okay? So, Aragorn tells Theoden and the others, I've got to ride by the paths of the dead, page 779. Notice, what persuaded him? Elrond's words? No. Arwen's words. Okay? Because he knows the thing that Arwen sent can really only be used one way. That is, he can only be able to use it if he takes the paths of the dead. Okay? So, Eomer and Theoden tremble. They say, why? No living person can take those paths. Aragorn says, I can. Okay? Merry says goodbye to them. And page 780. Aragorn tells Legolas and Gimli, I have looked in the stone of Orthanc, my friends. Gimli, Gandalf said not to do that. You forget to whom you speak. In other words, Gimli. Shh. Yeah, shush. What do you fear that I should say to him? Did I not openly proclaim my title before the doors of Edoras? Did I not say, I am Aragorn, son of Arathorn, heir of Isildur, Elendil's? Nay, Gimli. Nay, my friends, I am the lawful master of the stone, and I had both the right and the strength to use it. Or so I judged. It was a bitter struggle, and the weariness is slow to pass. I spoke no word to him, and in the end I wrenched the stone to my own will. What does that mean? Because that's really important. Who has control of the stone?
Well, first Sauron does, but
Yeah,
sounds like
Sauron does. Okay? When Denethor, give it away, when Denethor looks in the stone, the Palantir of Gondor, who controls it? Sauron. When Saruman looks in, who controls it? Sauron. Sauron has been controlling the stones, the Palantir, for thousands of years. And now, a ranger of the north looks in and does what? Wrests control. Think of the Palantir, which means far-seeing. So what does it really mean?
TV.
Television. Think of the Palantir as a television. Sauron controls the remote. And suddenly Aragorn looks in and channel changes. And Sauron tries to change it, and he can't. What does this mean?
He inherently showed Saruman that there is an heir to
Sauron, not Saruman.
or to
Yeah.
Sauron, that there is inherently an heir to this.
He probably goes like this. He remembers the last time there was a king of Western Nessa, a king of Gondor, because he's missing a finger. That alone he will find hard to endure. And he beheld me. That is, and Sauron saw me. Yes, Master Gimli, he saw me. Because we're not told, but I think if you were to film this, not Peter Jackson's nonsense, okay? When it says, he saw me, yes, Master Gimli, Gimli has got to be shocked. He's like, but he didn't see me as you see me here. Because how do we see? How's Aragorn dressed at this point? Road-stained cloak, mud-spattered boots, dirty, tangled hair. If that will aid him, then I have done ill. How did Sauron see Aragorn? Does he have a, separate kit with him, a suitcase with his kingly attire? No, because he doesn't need one. How did Eomer see Aragorn when Aragorn spouted off his lineage? How did Legolas and Gimli see him then for the first time? They saw him, as we're told, Pippin saw Gandalf and Denethor, as we're going to be told, Sam sees Frodo and Gollum later on, as with other sight, as one of the mighty kings of old. Like those stone statues they saw near Parthgalen of Isildur and Elendil. Sauron sees not only a king of Gondor, he sees direct heir of Isildur and Elendil. He sees somebody with, as it is, seemingly the full blood of Westernessa. He sees an heir of Beren, who cut the Silmaril from Morgoth's crown. Morgoth, who was Sauron's master. Beren fought Sauron. Okay? He kind of goes, uh-oh, this is bad news. To know that I lived and walked the earth was a blow to his heart. I deem, for he knew it not till now. Sauron's already got to worry about Elrond, okay, Galadriel, Gandalf, a whole mess of other elves. Glorfindel can be dangerous. Círdan the shipwright can be dangerous. The eyes of Orthanc did not see through the armor of Theoden, but Sauron has not forgotten Isildur and the sword of Elendil. That is, Saruman didn't see who I really was. Because what could Aragorn have done at Orthanc? Mine. This belongs to me. You're going to clean out. Everything here is mine. Now, in the very hour of his great designs, the heir of Isildur and the sword are revealed. For I showed the blade reforged to him. Remember this. Remember this. But he wields great dominion nonetheless, Gimli says. He will strike more swiftly. The hasty strike oft goes astray. What is Aragorn saying? You're right. And why did I do this? To make him show his cards. To make him strike first. We must press our enemy and no longer wait upon him for the move. See, my friends, when I had mastered the stone, I learned many things. What does that mean? Because he mastered the stone, he was able to see what he needed and wanted to see. That's why he's going to go through the paths of the dead. It's not only because of what Elrond and Arwen said. A grave peril I saw coming unlooked for upon Gondor from the south that will draw great strength from the defense of Minas Tirith. So, I've got to go through the paths of the dead. Why? To stop, what we later discover, the Corsairs of Umber. This navy that's going to come up the river. Okay? So, Aragorn quotes the lines referring to the paths of the dead, saying, here's why I can go. Okay? Skip a few pages, and we see, because I've gone way longer than I needed to, and we see Aragorn and Éowyn talk. And Éowyn says, I hear you're going to take the paths of the dead. Oh, foolish. Page 783, middle of the page. Is it then your errand to seek death? And that is all that you will find on that road. He says, no, not me. They will suffer me to pass. But this is madness, she says. Why? Because here are men of renown and prowess, and what can they do? They can go off to battle and earn great glory. Aragorn, it is not madness, for I go on a path appointed. This path is laid for him. But those who come with me, they come of their own free will. Okay? They may do so, but I shall take the paths of the dead alone if need be. And she asks why. He says, because this is the only way I can play a part. So what does she say? Well, let me come with you. Why? She wants to play a part too. Aragorn, your duty is with your people. She's like, oh, there's that damn D word again. Duty. Too often have I heard of duty. Middle of 784. Am I not of the house of Eorl, the shield maiden, and not a dry nurse? She says, may I not now spend my life as I will? Spend my life as I will. What does she mean by will? Desire. Want. What does she mean by spend? Like when you spend money, what do? You use it up. You give it away. May I not give my life away as I desire. Aragorn, few may do that with honor. How is Aragorn interpreting her words? What is she suggesting?
Suicide, basically?
Yeah, but let's put it in a modern context. Death by cop. Suicide by cop. Somebody who wants to die, but they don't have the you-know-whats to do it themselves. So what do? They find a cop and they pull a weapon on a cop. What's a cop going to do? Boom! Got a brother-in-law. He was a cop for 27 years. Okay? You get a cop, you get somebody else to kill you. Aragorn says, few may do that with honor. That is, few may give away their lives with honor. How do you give away your life with honor? Sacrifice? She's not talking about sacrifice, though. But as for you, lady, did you not accept the charge to govern the people until the Lord's return? She has already agreed. She would take care of the old, the infirm, and the children. Okay? He says, and if you hadn't been chosen, some other captain of the host would. Would he be able to just give that up? To go off and fight? No. He says he couldn't. Shall I always be chosen? What's Tolkien writing about here? I mean, feminists ought to love this stuff. This is a strong female character. You don't need to have Liv Tyler on the horse rescuing Frodo at the Frodes of Ruina. I mean, Tolkien's putting this in the mouth of Éowyn. She wants to die in glory. She is, she says, a shield maiden. She's a warrior. She wants to be a Navy SEAL. I mean, let's use real world terms. Aragorn, a time may come soon when no warriors will return. Then there will be need of valor without renown. There will be need of courage without what? Fame, glory. The glory comes from what other people say about you, right? That's where fame comes from. That's where renown comes from. What is more courageous? To die in a battle that no one will ever sing a song about. That is, to die in a losing battle. Or to die in one where you know your side is going to win. Which takes more courage? To fight to the end when you know you've lost. Or to fight to the end when you know your side is going to win. That's a lot easier than to fight what you know is a losing battle. Aragorn is saying, lady, we don't know that we're going to win this. You're taking charge of the children, the women, the infirm, and the elderly. Might be the most courageous thing done in this entire war. Yet the deeds will not be less valiant because they are unpraised. She takes that all to say, your job is to stay home. Does she even really listen to what Aragorn says? No. Why not?
Mine's made up.
Her mind's made up. For what purpose? Is it courage? She wants to be famous. She wants to earn glory. She wants other people to know Éowyn lived. Éowyn died in this great battle. She says, I do not fear pain or death. What do you fear? Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. What do you fear? A cage. To stay behind bars until use and old age accept them, and all chance of doing great deeds is gone beyond recall or desire. And you counseled me not to rashly go off on an adventure? He's saying, you are being rash. You are willing to throw it all away. What? So that people will sing a song of Éowyn. Okay? So, she comes up to him again, asks him, and he says no. So they go, we have the muster of Rowan, and I've got to go really quickly now. Theoden tells Merry, this battle is not for you, you're not coming, you're going to go off with the old, the aged, the infirm, the women and children. Merry says, like hell. And a warrior comes up to him named Durnhelm and says, you know, where there's a will, you should be allowed. Pulls Merry up behind him on his horse. Okay. And that warrior's name is Durnhelm, which means, it's from Old English, this comes from the Old English word dirna and helm, which means secret or hidden protector. Helm doesn't just mean helmet, it means protector. Okay? But Peter Jackson doesn't allow us that. Because what does he do? Idiot. He shows us immediately that it's Éowyn, which gives away what's going to happen later on. Okay? So we get the Siege of Gondor. Siege of Gondor, Faramir shows up, going through really quickly. Faramir sees Pippin and goes, a halfling? I saw one of you, saw your kin. They figure out the time frame. He tells Gandalf and Denethor where Frodo and Sam are headed, and Gandalf's like, why the hell is he going there? Okay? And he finds out Denethor's not happy that he let the halfling go with what he was carrying. So he offers to go back out to the battle. And Faramir says, bottom of page 816, if I should return, think better of me. In other words, I might die in this battle, Dad. Because Denethor has already said, I do wish you had gone instead of Boromir, because then you'd be dead, and Boromir would still be alive, and Boromir would have brought this thing to me. Okay? And Gandalf says, no, he wouldn't have. Okay? So, Denethor says, in response to think better of me, that depends on the manner of your return. What is Denethor suggesting? Okay, it could be that. I don't think it's that.
If you're victorious, if you win, you get Osgiliath back, then maybe I'll like it a little bit better.
I think that's an option. I think Denethor is suggesting that Faramir will return tail between his legs. Okay, you will return as a coward. You know, the old Spartan wives supposedly said, return one of two ways.
With your shield.
With your shield or on it. Meaning dead. I don't think Denethor is suggesting that. Okay? So, Faramir kind of stomps out, and what does Gandalf say? Don't go off half-cocked there, Faramir. Your father still loves you. He'll remember before the end. Okay? So, Faramir goes off. They're not doing so well in the battle. Faramir is brought back in, wounded, feverish. And Denethor decides, that's it, we're done, we've lost. So he takes Faramir up to the houses of the dead. And he's going to light himself on fire with Faramir. Pippin sees this. He tells Baragon. He goes down to find Gandalf. Bottom of, last page of the chapter, 829. We get this picture of Gandalf sitting on Shadowfax at the entrance to the gates of Gondor. And for the first time in recorded history, the gates of Gondor fall. They're breached by an enemy. And in rides the Lord of the Nazgul, the captain of the Nine, the Witch King of Angmar. A great black shape against the fires beyond, he loomed up, grown to a vast menace of despair. In rode the Lord of the Nazgul, under the archway that no enemy ever yet had passed, and all fled before his face, save one, Gandalf. Okay? You know, and we've had in the description of the battle, what are the forces of Sauron doing in part of this battle? They take the heads from their dead enemies and they catapult them over the wall. To do what?
Break the will.
Terrorist tactics. Break their will. This too can be you, you know. And Gandalf stands there, little old frail man on his horse. You cannot enter here. Go back to the abyss prepared for you. Go back. Fall into the nothingness that awaits you and your master. Go. The Black Rider flings back his hood. There's nothing there but flame. And says, old fool, this is my hour. Do you not know death when you see it? Die now and curse in vain. That die now and curse in vain is almost an exact passage from the Old Testament book of Job, where Job's wife tells him, die now and curse God in vain. Okay? But what happens? We hear in some far-off courtyard of the city, it's dawn, and some damn rooster is crowing. Why does Tolkien do this? What did Gandalf tell Denethor previously? If through this night Gondor should fall, but something should live to grow or bear fruit, the cock crowing is a sign. Not all is lost. Not all is failed. And then, as if in answer to the cock crow, what do we hear? The horns of Rowan. And the Dark Rider turns around to go off to the Pelennor fields. We get the Ride of the Rohirrim. Okay? Merry goes with Durnhelm. Chapter 6, we get the Battle of the Pelennor fields. And what happens? Durnhelm is revealed, uncovered, made known. When the Black Rider goes off after Theoden, Theoden's horse quails, falls on him. Theoden is dying. Durnhelm comes to Theoden's aid. And the captain of the nine says, stand not between the Nazgul and his prey. In other words, this dragon-like thing that he rides is going to eat that horse and rider. And Durnhelm says, not if I have anything to say. Page 841. Begone, foul Dwemer Lake, Lord of Carrie, and leave the dead in peace. Come not between the Nazgul and his prey, or he will not slay thee in thy turn. Do what you will, but I will hinder you. Hinder me, thou fool. No living man may hinder me. Surprise! And that's when Durnhelm is revealed. You need a strong female character? How about Eowyn? No living man am I. You look upon a woman. Eowyn I am, Eowyn's daughter. You stand between me and my lord and kin. If you be not deathless, begone. He strikes, breaks her arm, and what happens? Merry kind of wakes up, comes out of the fog, pulls his little sword out. Where did he get his sword? Tom Bombadil pulled it out of the barrow that the Barrow-wight had been protecting. What was written on the sword? These swords were cast, were forged. For what specific purpose? To fight against the Witch King of Angmar. Merry has it and stabs him in the back of the knee, or where the knee would be. It's only because of one, Merry is not a man, he is a hobbit, and two, because his sword was forged for this very purpose, that Merry has any effect. Stabs him behind the knee. If you've ever had knee surgery, you know what pain he's talking about. He falls forward. And when Eowyn just sticks her sword like this, and he falls on it and dies. What happens to the will of Sauron's forces? He kind of quails. Okay? This is Sauron's right hand man. He's died. Dead this time. Okay? So, the battle is won. How? What comes up from the south? The Corsairs of Umbar.
Yeah.
Okay? They see the ships, and the people, the good forces, are going, the Corsairs of Umbar, the Corsairs of Umbar are upon us. And then they see the pennant unfurled. And it's not the skull and crossbones, the Jolly Roger. It's what? It's the sign of the House of Numenor. Only one person can fly that flag. King of Gondor. Steward can't fly that flag. That flag does not fly in Gondor. Only the king can fly it. It's like Buckingham Palace. Okay? The Union Cross, the flag of England, only flies over Buckingham Palace when the Queen is in residence. It only flies over Windsor when the Queen is in residence. It only flies over Holyrood when the Queen is in residence. That flag doesn't fly in any of those royal palaces unless the Queen is there. Okay? This flag is only flown when the King is around. And the people see this and they're like, what? Because what did Aragorn do? He went through the paths of the dead and he got the dead to fulfill the oath that they swore to Elendil over 3,000 years ago. Okay? We see Gandalf rescue Faramir. I'm skipping a bunch. And then we get the houses of healing. Who's brought into the houses of healing? Okay, Faramir is there. He's been brought down from the houses of the dead. Éowyn is brought in from the battlefield, and Merry is brought in. Okay. Aragorn first goes to Faramir. Why? Because he's the one closest to death. What are Faramir's first words? My lord, you called me, I come. What does the king command? Page 866. What does the king command? Aragorn didn't say, Psst, Faramir, I'm the future king. Come on, wake up. I need you to recognize me. All he does is he anoints him with some herbs. Okay. Who actually brings Éowyn out from her darkness? It's Éomer. Why? Because Aragorn says she loves you more than she does me. She only thinks she loves Aragorn. What does she love about Aragorn? The idea of Aragorn. Because she doesn't really know him, but she loves her brother. Okay? So, running way too quickly. We get to chapter the last debate. What does the last debate come down to? Notice they have this council outside Minas Tirith. Why hasn't Aragorn entered Minas Tirith with pomp and circumstance? Playing, Edward Elgar's tune. He's not king yet. What must happen before Aragorn can be king? Sauron's got to be defeated. Okay? So they have this debate. What's the debate? What do we do? What do we do now? Do we build up our defenses? Really build them up this time? Gandalf says, you've tried that in the past. Look what good it did you. And he ultimately says, we cannot win this battle by force of arms. How will this battle, this war, be won? A pair of midgets sneaking in the back door, dropping the ring off in the cracks of doom. Okay, that's on the kind of south end of Mordor. So what is Gandalf's suggestion? Let's go to the north and do what? Knock on the front gate. Why? Let's distract them. Let's draw them out. But if they draw Sauron out to the front, what does that mean for them? Probably certain death. Gandalf says, here's your choice. I do not counsel prudence, bottom of 878. I still hope for victory, but not by arms. For into the midst of all these policies comes the ring of power, the foundation of Barad-dûr. So, Aragorn says, page 879, let's challenge him. Gandalf, page 880. We must call out his hidden strength. We must march out to meet him. We must walk open-eyed into that trap with courage, but small hope for ourselves. Small hope is probably, again, litotes. No hope. With one little inkling. What's the little glimmer of hope? Maybe Frodo will achieve his quest. That's the only way they're going to walk out of this alive, is if Frodo achieves the quest. Okay? So what do? They march out, and what happens? The mouth of Sauron holds something up. Frodo's belongings. His mithril coat. And Pippin goes, ah! Gandalf, shh. All right? Gandalf takes them, says, we'll keep these in memory, and all hell breaks loose. Last thing Pippin remembers is a troll is falling on him, and he hears, the eagles are coming, and he's like, wait a second, that's Bilbo's story. That's the Hobbit, the Battle of 5 Armies. And he passes out. And we go back to the Tower of Cirith Ungol with 5 minutes to go. Sam has realized, oops. And so what does he do? He discovers Frodo after Gorbag and Shagrat kill each other off. He discovers Frodo. He tells Frodo, I've got the ring. And he enables Frodo. He gives Frodo the ring back, obviously. He helps Frodo get all the way to Mount Doom. Okay? They know they're still being followed by Gollum. There are a couple of passages I would love to talk about, but we don't have time. And page 940. Sam comes to a realization. Frodo's not going to make it on his own. And he says, I said I'd carry him if I need to, I will. So he starts to carry Frodo. They get to the base of Mount Doom. Sam lets go of Frodo. Frodo starts to crawl up. And Sam is tackled from behind by Gollum, page 944. Frodo casts Gollum off of him. And Sam looks down. Sam looks and he sees Frodo and Gollum. Suddenly, as before, he sees them with other vision, a crouching shape, scarcely more than the shadow of a living thing, and out of the fire in Frodo's breast. Okay, what is there? The ring. Out of the ring comes a commanding voice. Begone and trouble me no more. If you touch me ever again, you shall be cast yourself into the fire of doom. Gollum backs away. Frodo goes on. Sam says, I'll take care of him. You go on. And Sam's like, now I've got you. Don't kill us. Don't hurt us with nasty, cruel steel. Let us live, yes, live just a little more. Notice what Gollum seems to know. I've got mere moments to live. Just a little longer. Lost, we're lost. When Precious goes, we'll die. Yes, die into the dust. Dust. And what happens to Sam? Sam has been a ring bearer. He knows the torment the ring causes. How long did he bear the ring? Hours. Gollum bore it for 600 years. And Sam thinks of Gollum, enslaved to that ring, unable to find peace or relief ever in life again. Does that imply that Gollum might find relief in death? What happens? They get up to the top, to the crack of doom, and Sam sees Frodo, and he hears, I have come, but I do not choose now to do what I came to do. I will not do this deed. The ring is mine. And he's like, oh, crap. I get him all the way here. What did Gandalf say at the beginning of the novel?
He may not be able to let go.
Anyone of mortal race who possesses the ring for too long will become possessed. Okay, they're at the place where the ring was made. The ring is putting forth all its power. Frodo has no will left. Okay, and Gollum takes the ring, bites it off Frodo's finger, dances around in joy, and falls. Compare this with that idiot Peter Jackson's version. Because Gollum falls into the crack of doom and the ring is lost forever. But in the film, oh no. The ring falls and it's lying there on a ledge. So that Frodo reaches for it. No, Mr. Frodo, it's like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and the Holy Grail. Okay? The ring is destroyed. Frodo and Sam are rescued by the eagles. I'm going to skip the whole Fields of Cromalin and all that. Skip the scouring of the Shire, though it's important. Notice what Frodo does to Saruman. Saruman tries to kill him. And Frodo says to Sam, no, Sam, don't kill him, not even now. Why? He was once of a kind beyond our reach. And though there is not much hope, there is some he will find his cure. He says the same thing about Saruman that Gandalf said about Gollum. Okay? But he is eventually killed. And the end of the novel, Frodo gets to go off to the Grey Havens, which means he will sail with the elves and leave Middle-earth and go off to Valinor. Why? Why is he given that option? And by whom is he given that option? Arwen gives it to him because she makes Luthien Tunuviel's choice. She is half-elven. She will choose to become fully human at that point, which means she will live a really, really, really long life. But when she dies, she won't go off to the halls of Mandos to be reincarnated and come back to Middle-earth. She will die and leave Middle-earth forever. She has chosen the doom of men, the gift of men, death. Okay? Frodo gets to go off to Valinor. For what purpose? Healing. What happens to him every October 6th after the ring is destroyed?
He feels the pain of the stab.
He feels the pain from the stab wound. And every March, can't remember the exact date, when he was bit by Shelob, he's ill then also. In other words, the ring is destroyed, but Frodo still feels the effects of the ring. Bilbo still feels the effects. How do we know? Well, when Frodo and Bilbo meet up, Bilbo asks, you got my ring? And Frodo's like, sorry, Bilbo, lost it a long time ago. Well, that's okay. Okay? And what happens to Sam? He goes back home and gets his what? His girl, his wife and child. He gets his happy ever after ending that he talked about. Might be the best kind of stories to be landed into if they end this way.
Okay.
Frodo's not landed in that kind of story. Frodo's landed in the other kind. Okay, we'll stop there. Follow the directions on the exam, please. And we'll start Harry Potter on Thursday.